A summer's betrayal. The summer sun hung high over the sprawling coastline of Malibu, casting a golden glow over the turquoise waves as they crashed against the shore. Natalie Parker, a 34-year-old interior designer from New York, had just arrived at the luxurious Ocean Crest Resort for what she believed would be a relaxing solo retreat to escape the pressures of city life. What she didn't expect was for this trip to unravel her life in ways she couldn't foresee. On her second day at the resort, Natalie decided to attend a beachfront yoga class. As she unrolled her mat, she noticed him, Alex Carter. His athletic build and disarming smile made him the kind of man who seemed to belong in the pages of a travel magazine. He was a software entrepreneur from San Francisco, and his confident demeanor instantly caught Natalie's attention. Over casual post-yoga conversation, their chemistry was undeniable. They bonded over shared tastes in music, a love for French cinema, and the mutual agreement that the sunsets on the West Coast felt like time standing still. By the third day, their connection deepened. They spent hours walking the beach, sharing secrets and dreams they had never told anyone else. Alex revealed his struggles with a marriage that had grown cold and distant. He claimed his wife, Claire, was more interested in her corporate career than in their relationship. Natalie, though initially cautious, found herself drawn into his world, convincing herself that their connection was pure serendipity, not something stained by betrayal. The first kiss happened under the soft light of a cabana during a private dinner Alex had arranged. Natalie knew she was crossing a line, but the magnetic pull between them was too strong. "This feels real," Alex whispered, and Natalie, for the first time in years, felt alive. The first twist. But things took a darker turn when Natalie noticed inconsistencies in Alex's stories. One evening, while they were having drinks at the resort bar, a man approached them. He introduced himself as Liam and claimed he was an old friend of Alex's. Something in Liam's demeanor made Natalie uncomfortable. His eyes lingered on her a little too long, and his cryptic comment, "Alex always did have a knack for the dramatic," left her unsettled. The next morning, Natalie decided to do a bit of investigating. She casually asked around the resort staff about Alex. What she learned shocked her. Alex wasn't at the resort alone. In fact, he was registered under a different name, Michael Harrison, and was staying in a private villa. Natalie's heart sank, but her curiosity got the better of her. She followed him one evening and saw him entering the villa, not alone, but with another woman. The confrontation. The woman, stunning and impeccably dressed, was not Claire as Natalie had imagined. Her name was Ava, and from the heated argument Natalie overheard, she was Alex's business partner and lover. They spoke in hushed but intense tones about keeping everything under control and making sure no one finds out. As Natalie stepped back into the shadows, her mind raced. Who was Alex really, and what game was he playing? Unable to suppress her anger, Natalie confronted Alex the next morning. Cornering him near the pool, she demanded answers. At first, he tried to deny everything, but as she detailed what she had overheard, his confident facade crumbled. "You don't understand," he pleaded. "It's complicated. Ava and it's not what it looks like." But Natalie wasn't buying it. She walked away, vowing to leave the resort and Alex behind. Yet, something about the mystery of his dual identity gnawed at her. She wasn't just heartbroken. She was intrigued. There was more to this story, and against her better judgment, she wanted to uncover the truth. The second twist. Before she could check out, a note was slipped under her door. It read, "Meet me at the cliffside gazebo tonight. I'll explain everything. Please, trust me one more time. Alex." Natalie hesitated but ultimately decided to go. She found Alex waiting, looking more vulnerable than she'd ever seen him. What he revealed shook her to her core. "I'm not just here for a vacation," he confessed. "Ava and we're working undercover. Claire is in danger. Someone's been trying to sabotage my company, and it's tied to her career. Ava is posing as my lover to draw them out, but meeting you, it wasn't part of the plan. I didn't mean for this to happen." Natalie didn't know whether to believe him. His story was elaborate, almost too perfect. but the desperation in his voice and the way his eyes searched hers for understanding made her pause. "If you care about me," he said, "help me finish this." The cliffhanger. Before Natalie could respond, the sound of footsteps echoed in the distance. Alex's face turned pale. "We're being watched," he whispered, pulling her into the shadows. From their hiding spot, Natalie saw Liam, the man from the bar, speaking into a phone. "Yeah, they're here. Both of them. It's time to end this." Natalie's pulse raced as Alex tightened his grip on her hand. "You need to trust me," he whispered. "But if you don't, run." She stared into his eyes, torn between the truth and the lies, between safety and adventure. As the night swallowed them, Natalie realized she had to make a choice. Stay and unravel the tangled web of Alex's secrets or walk away forever, never knowing what could have been. And in that moment, standing on the edge of betrayal and danger, Natalie took a deep breath and ran. Natalie's heart pounded in her chest as she sprinted down the winding path leading away from the gazebo, her sandals slipping against the cool stone. She could hear Alex calling after her, but she didn't stop. Not until she was far enough away to catch her breath. She ducked behind a cluster of palm trees near the beach, gasping for air. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore was almost deafening, but it couldn't drown out the thoughts racing through her mind. What the hell had she gotten herself into? Suddenly, a hand clamped down on her shoulder. Natalie spun around, ready to scream, but it was Alex. His eyes were wide with urgency. "You shouldn't have run," he whispered harshly. "Now they'll think you know more than you do." Natalie pulled away. "What do I even know, Alex? Your lies? Your secrets? Who are you?" Before he could answer, a pair of headlights appeared in the distance, creeping along the narrow resort road leading to the beach. Alex grabbed Natalie's hand, pulling her deeper into the shadows. "They're watching us," he muttered, eyes darting around. "We have to leave the resort. Now. Leave," Natalie whispered, shaking her head. "Are you insane? I'm not running off with you. I don't even know what's going on." Alex sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Natalie, listen to me. The people following me aren't just corporate rivals. They're dangerous. They think you're part of this now, which means you're in danger, too." Natalie swallowed hard. As much as she wanted to deny it, the fear in Alex's voice was real. And then, before she could think it through, she whispered, "Where do we go?" Alex's lips curled into a half-smile, but his eyes remained serious. "I have a place off the grid. Just trust me for one night." Against her better judgment, Natalie nodded. She didn't trust Alex, but she trusted the fear in her own gut, and it told her she was safer with him than alone. The escape. They snuck through the resort grounds, avoiding the main roads, slipping past clusters of tourists enjoying their evening cocktails. Alex led her to a sleek black car parked near a staff-only entrance. He opened the passenger door for her. Natalie hesitated. "Tell me one thing first. Is Claire really your wife?" Alex's jaw tightened, and for the first time, Natalie saw something that looked like genuine regret in his expression. "She was," he admitted. "But not anymore." Natalie climbed into the car, her mind reeling. But before she could ask more, Alex started the engine and peeled out onto the dark highway. The safe house. An hour later, they arrived at a small beachfront cottage tucked away in a secluded cove. Alex parked behind a row of tall palm trees and led Natalie inside. The interior was sparse but cozy. Dim lighting, a leather couch, and a bottle of whiskey sitting on the counter. "You stay here," Alex said, checking his phone. "I need to make a call." Natalie sank onto the couch, exhaustion washing over her. She watched Alex step outside onto the deck, his silhouette outlined by the moonlight. He spoke in hushed tones, pacing, his movements sharp and agitated. Natalie scanned the room and noticed a small laptop on the coffee table. Curiosity got the better of her. She opened it, her hands trembling as she typed "Michael Harrison" into the search bar. What she found made her blood run cold. Articles popped up, headlines about fraudulent tech deals, missing funds, and allegations of espionage. But one article stood out, Tech mogul Alex Carter found dead in San Francisco, body identified. Natalie's stomach dropped. If Alex Carter was dead, then who was the man standing outside claiming to be him? She closed the laptop just as the door swung open. Alex, if that was even his name, stood in the doorway, his eyes dark and unreadable. "Find anything interesting?" he asked softly, and for the first time, Natalie wasn't sure if she was running from danger or straight into it. A new threat. Before Natalie could answer, a sharp knock echoed through the cottage. Alex's expression darkened. He put a finger to his lips and motioned for her to stay quiet. Slowly, he approached the door, pressing his ear against it. "Natalie," a voice called from outside. It was Liam. "I know you're in there. Let me in. He's not who you think he is." Natalie's pulse skyrocketed. She turned to Alex or whoever he was, her mind racing. "Who the hell are you?" she whispered, stepping back. Alex didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a gun. His eyes locked on the door. "You need to decide, Natalie," he said, his voice low. "Do you trust me, or do you open that door?" Natalie stood frozen, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Her instincts screamed at her to run, to call for help, to do something. But something about Alex, about the entire situation, made her hesitate. And then, Liam's voice cut through the tension again. "Natalie, if you don't open this door, you're going to regret it. He's lying to you. You don't have much time." Natalie took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the doorknob, caught between the unknown and the truth waiting to be revealed. Beneath the surface, Natalie's hand hovered over the doorknob, her heart pounding so loudly she could barely hear her own thoughts. Behind her, Alex, or whoever he was, stood still, his grip tightening around the gun. "Don't," he whispered. "You don't know who's really on the other side." Natalie's throat was dry. "And I don't know who's standing behind me either," she shot back, glancing at him over her shoulder. Liam's voice called again from outside, quieter this time. "Natalie, you have no idea what you're caught up in. Let me in before it's too late." The weight of the moment pressed down on her. Trusting the wrong person could cost her everything. She squeezed her eyes shut, took a breath, and then she yanked the door open. Liam stood there, his face tense, eyes scanning the room instantly. He stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, locking eyes with Alex. "Put the gun down," he ordered, his voice calm but firm. Alex didn't lower his weapon. Instead, he took a step closer to Natalie. "You shouldn't have let him in," he muttered. Liam exhaled sharply. "Natalie, listen to me. He's not who he says he is. Alex Carter is dead. This man, he's been living under Alex's identity for over a year, running from people you don't want to mess with." He looked at her, his expression softening. "I can get you out of this, but you have to come with me. Now." Natalie's head spun. She turned to Alex. His jaw was clenched, his eyes searching hers, pleading silently. "He's lying," Alex said. "Natalie, think. I told you the truth at the gazebo. I'm trying to protect Claire. Liam is the reason we're in danger." Natalie swallowed hard. Two different stories, two different men, and she was trapped between them. I don't know who to believe," she whispered. Liam moved quickly, pulling a folded document from his jacket and tossing it onto the table. "Then believe the facts," he said. "This is a classified report on Michael Harrison. His real name." He pointed at Alex. "Corporate espionage, identity theft, and ties to an offshore network that's been smuggling data for years." Natalie's trembling hands reached for the document. She scanned it, her heart sinking with every line. Photos of Alex, Michael, shaking hands with shadowy figures in Dubai, accounts traced to offshore banks in the Cayman Islands. "I can explain," Alex said suddenly, his voice desperate. "It's not what it looks like." Natalie looked up, feeling a sickening twist in her gut. "Tell me the truth," she said, her voice shaking. "All of it. Now." Alex exhaled, rubbing his forehead. "Fine. My name isn't Alex Carter. It's Michael, yes, but I didn't steal his identity for money. I did it to get away. He glanced at Liam. I was working for them, illegally selling classified data, but when I found out what they were really planning, I tried to get out. They didn't like that. Liam scoffed. So you stole Alex Carter's identity and ran straight into a new life? Convenient. I didn't have a choice, Alex snapped. They framed me for a cyber attack that nearly took down half the country's infrastructure. If I stayed, I'd be dead. And now they think Natalie knows something she shouldn't. Natalie's stomach flipped. Wait. They think I'm involved? She whispered, horrified. Alex nodded grimly. Because you were with me at the resort. They assume you're helping me. That's why we need to get out of here. Liam stepped forward. Natalie, don't let him pull you deeper into this. If we leave now, I can get you back to New York safely. But if you stay... He trailed off, looking at Alex with a mixture of pity and disdain. He's already as good as dead. Natalie's mind raced. She felt trapped. Every choice pulling her deeper into a nightmare she didn't ask for. Then, before she could answer, a sudden noise outside made them all freeze. The sound of car tires crunching on gravel. Headlights pierced through the window blinds. Alex's face paled. They're here. Liam swore under his breath and reached for his phone. Damn it, we don't have time. He grabbed Natalie's arm. We have to go. Now. Alex grabbed her other arm. No. Stay with me, Natalie. I can keep you safe. Her chest tightened as she looked between them. Two different paths. One might lead to safety, or deeper into danger. The knocking on the door started, slow and deliberate. Natalie took a deep breath. And then she made her choice. A dangerous choice. Natalie's pulse thundered in her ears as she stood between Alex, Michael, and Liam. The knocking at the door grew louder, more insistent. She made a split-second decision. Let's go, she whispered to Liam, yanking her arm free from Alex's grip. Alex's face twisted with something between frustration and desperation. Natalie, you're making a mistake. He hissed, but she ignored him, rushing toward the back door with Liam. Just as Liam cracked it open, a gunshot shattered the night. Glass exploded across the living room as a bullet tore through the front window. Natalie screamed, ducking instinctively. Alex lunged forward, dragging her down behind the couch, his voice urgent. Stay low. They're already inside the perimeter. Liam swore, pulling a compact pistol from a concealed holster beneath his jacket. We don't have time for this. He peered cautiously through the shattered blinds. They've got two men at the front, another circling the house. Natalie's breath came in sharp gasps. Who are they? Alex's voice was grim. People I used to work for, and they don't leave loose ends. Liam pressed his gun into Alex's chest. You've got 5 seconds to tell me exactly what they want, or I'll leave you here for them. Alex shoved the gun away, glaring. I was the only one who could access the offshore data. I took a backup before I left. They think I still have it. Natalie's head spun. Do you? She asked breathlessly. Alex didn't answer right away. His silence was enough. Liam muttered a curse. You're an idiot. Then he turned to Natalie. We need to move. Back door now. They crept through the small cottage, stepping over broken glass and ducking beneath the soft moonlight that streamed through the windows. Liam eased the door open, scanning the dark beach beyond. All clear, he whispered. We stick to the shoreline. They won't expect us to head toward the cliffs. Natalie hesitated, turning back to Alex. Are you coming? Alex hesitated, his gaze flickering between her and the encroaching figures outside. You trust him? He asked softly. Natalie swallowed. I trust that I don't want to die tonight. A flicker of something unreadable crossed Alex's face, and then he nodded. Fine, let's go. On the run. The trio sprinted across the sand, the salty wind whipping against their faces. The crashing waves masked the sound of their footsteps, but Natalie could feel the tension like a storm brewing behind them. There's an old boathouse up ahead, Alex said between breaths. We can lay low there. Liam shot him a glare. You better not be leading us into a trap. Natalie's heart raced as they ran, every shadow on the beach feeling like a threat. Then, Out of nowhere, a figure emerged from behind a dune. A man in dark tactical gear. Before Natalie could scream, Liam fired 2 quick shots. The man crumpled, and Liam didn't even break his stride. "Keep moving!" But the gunfire had given them away. Shouts echoed from behind them, followed by more gunfire. Bullets kicked up sand just inches from Natalie's feet. "Oh God! Oh God!" she gasped. Alex grabbed her wrist and pulled her forward. Almost there. The boathouse loomed ahead, an old wooden structure perched on stilts above the waterline. Liam kicked the door open and ushered them inside, slamming it shut behind them. He quickly barricaded it with an overturned workbench. Breathing heavily, Natalie collapsed against the wall. "What now?" Liam checked his ammo. "We hold them off until I can call for backup." Alex shook his head. "No. They'll torch this place if they think we're inside." He turned to Natalie, his expression serious. "There's a boat under the dock. We can use it to get out to open water and lose them." Liam frowned. "And go where?" Alex hesitated, then said, "Mexico. I have a contact there who can help." Natalie blinked. "You mean run? Again?" Alex looked at her. "It's the only way to stay alive." Liam sighed, shaking his head. "You're insane. But if it's between that and getting shot in a boathouse, I'll take my chances." Natalie swallowed, glancing at the door, which rattled slightly as their pursuers searched outside. "Okay," she said, her voice shaking. "Let's do it. Escape to the unknown." They slipped through a loose board in the back of the boathouse and crept toward the dock. The small fishing boat bobbed gently in the waves, tied to a rusted cleat. Liam climbed in first, gun still at the ready. Alex helped Natalie in, his touch lingering for a moment before he jumped in himself and started the engine. The boat roared to life, and Natalie watched in horror as the men on the beach spotted them. "Go, go, go!" she cried. Alex gunned the throttle, and the boat lurched forward into the dark expanse of the ocean. Bullets hit the water around them, but they kept going, the shoreline shrinking behind them. Natalie sat frozen, staring back at the receding beach. "What happens now?" she whispered. Alex glanced at her, his eyes dark and unreadable. "We disappear." Liam, checking his phone with a scowl, muttered, "You better hope disappearing works, because those guys? They don't stop." Natalie hugged her knees to her chest, the salty wind stinging her face. She had no idea what lay ahead, whether she'd made the right choice, or if she just dived deeper into a nightmare she couldn't escape. But one thing was clear. She wasn't in control anymore, and she wasn't sure she ever would be again. Into the deep. The boat cut through the inky black waters, the engine roaring against the crashing waves. Natalie sat huddled in the back, her knuckles white as she gripped the edge of the seat. Her mind swirled with unanswered questions. About Alex, about Liam, and most of all, about what she'd just left behind. Liam kept scanning the horizon behind them, his jaw tense. "We won't be able to outrun them forever," he muttered, his eyes darting to Alex. "Where exactly is this contact of yours?" Alex didn't look up from the wheel. "South. There's an inlet about 20 miles from here, hidden, off the charts. I trust the guy who owns it." Liam scoffed. "You trust someone? That's rich, considering the mess you dragged her into." Natalie shivered despite the warm air. "Can we not do this now?" she asked, her voice cracking. "We're barely out of danger." Alex shot her a quick glance. "We'll be fine. I promise." Liam groaned. "Stop making promises you can't keep, Michael." Natalie exhaled sharply. "Enough. I don't care what your name is right now, I just want to know. Why me? Why did they come after me?" Alex's grip tightened on the wheel, his jaw working as if debating how much to say. Finally, he sighed. "Because they think I told you something. Something important." Natalie's eyes widened. "Did you?" Before Alex could answer, Liam's phone buzzed. He checked it and swore under his breath. "Damn it. They tracked us." Natalie's stomach dropped. "What?" Liam turned the screen toward them. A red blip was moving fast toward their location. "They must have planted a tracker on you. Purse? Clothes? Something." Panic surged through Natalie. Are you saying they're following us right now? Alex's eyes darkened. Looks like it. He suddenly veered the boat sharply, sending Natalie tumbling into his side. Hold on, he muttered. Natalie's pulse skyrocketed. What are you doing? Alex's lips curled into a grim smile. Losing them. Evasion. The boat sped forward at a breakneck pace, cutting through the waves with reckless determination. Natalie clung to the side, the salt spray stinging her skin as the boat veered left and right in sharp evasive maneuvers. Liam was frantically searching through his bag. We need to ditch whatever they planted. Hand me your bag, Natalie. Natalie fumbled with her purse and tossed it to him. Liam dumped the contents, sifting through makeup, a phone, sunglasses. Then he froze. He picked up a sleek black USB drive, holding it up to the moonlight. This. His voice was cold. This isn't yours, is it? Natalie blinked in shock. No, she faltered. I've never seen that before. Alex cursed under his breath. It's them. They must have slipped it in at the resort. Liam didn't waste another second. He yanked the drive apart and tossed the pieces into the ocean. That'll buy us time, he muttered. Natalie exhaled, but the relief was short-lived. The sound of another boat's engine roared to life behind them. They're still coming? Liam hissed, pulling his gun from his belt. We need to get off this boat. Now. Natalie's heart hammered. Into the water? Alex nodded grimly. It's the only way. They won't expect it. Before she could protest, Alex grabbed her hand and jumped overboard, dragging her into the cold, churning sea. The shock of the icy water stole her breath, but she kicked desperately, following Alex's strong grip through the darkness. Liam followed a second later, vanishing beneath the waves. Above them, the pursuit boat sped closer, its searchlight slicing through the darkness like a blade. Natalie ducked under the water, holding her breath, her lungs burning. They surfaced further down the coast, gasping for air. Alex pointed toward the distant shoreline. Swim, he whispered hoarsely. Natalie didn't hesitate. She swam harder than she ever had in her life. The hideout. By the time they reached the shore, Natalie's arms ached and her throat burned with salt water. She collapsed onto the damp sand, coughing, while Alex scanned the beach, his wet clothes clinging to him. Liam staggered onto the shore, shaking water from his gun. We have to keep moving, he urged, pulling Natalie to her feet. They won't stop looking. Alex motioned toward a dense grove of palm trees. This way. They stumbled through the underbrush, moving inland until they reached an abandoned beachside shack, hidden beneath a canopy of vines. Alex forced open the rusted door and ushered Natalie inside. She sat down, her body trembling. What now? She asked weakly. Alex sat across from her, running a hand through his wet hair. We lay low for now. Then we find my contact and figure out how to end this. Liam paced near the window. Natalie, you should have never gotten involved. I told you to walk away. She stared at him, eyes filled with exhaustion and frustration. You think I wanted this? Liam sighed, rubbing his temples. I'm just saying, if you stay with him, there's no going back. Alex's eyes softened as he looked at her. It's your choice, Natalie. She swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his words. Did she trust Alex, Michael, and whatever dangerous past he was tangled in? Or did she cut and run, hoping to escape with her life? Her lips parted, and for the first time, she was about to speak. But then, a knock echoed from the door. Natalie's blood turned to ice. Liam raised his gun. Alex stood frozen. And Natalie knew whatever choice she was about to make, it had just been made for her. A knock at the door. The knock came again, 3 slow, deliberate taps. Natalie's breath caught in her throat. Her eyes darted to Alex, whose body was tensed like a coiled spring, his hand inching toward the small knife he'd tucked into his belt. Liam held his gun steady, moving silently toward the window, peering through the slats of the dusty blinds. Who is it? Natalie whispered, her voice barely audible. Liam didn't respond at first, his jaw tight, his breathing controlled. One man, dressed casual. Could be local, could be a scout. He glanced at Alex. Your contact. Alex's face darkened. Maybe. Or it's them playing smart. He turned to Natalie. Get behind me. Natalie didn't argue, slipping into the shadows of the room as Alex moved to the door. He hesitated, then called out, Who's there? A voice came through, steady, with an edge of impatience. Took you long enough, Carter. Natalie saw Alex's shoulders stiffen at the name. He exhaled, glanced at Liam, and mouthed stay ready before unlocking the door. The rusty hinges groaned as he pulled it open, revealing a man in his late 40s, rugged, with graying stubble and piercing dark eyes. He wore a loose Hawaiian shirt, but the way he carried himself screamed ex-military. Hello, Alex, the man said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Liam's gun didn't lower. Who the hell are you? The man smirked. Relax. Name's Victor. I'm the guy you came looking for. He turned to Alex. You really know how to stir up trouble, don't you? Alex shut the door behind him. We didn't have a choice. Victor looked around the shack, his eyes landing on Natalie. And this must be the complication you mentioned, he said with an amused tilt of his head. Natalie crossed her arms, ignoring the chill running down her spine. Who are you? Victor's smile faded. The only guy who can get you out of this alive. But it won't come cheap. He looked back at Alex. You still have it? Alex hesitated. I don't have it with me. Victor swore under his breath. You're telling me I risked my ass coming here, and you don't even have the data? Alex glanced at Natalie and Liam before responding. It's in a safe place. Victor rolled his eyes. You're killing me, Carter. Do you have any idea how much heat you're bringing down? Liam stepped forward, his gun still trained on Victor. We don't have time for games. If you're going to help us, tell us how we get out of here. Victor rubbed his chin, calculating. There's a freighter leaving from a private dock south of here in a few hours. It's heading to Mexico under a clean manifest. If you're on it, you're ghosts. Alex frowned. And in exchange? Victor grinned. I want what's on that drive. The real drive. Natalie's chest tightened. What's so important about it? Victor eyed her with mild curiosity. Darling, let's just say it contains some very sensitive information on people who don't like their secrets floating around. His gaze hardened. People who'd rather see you at the bottom of the ocean than let that information leak. Natalie's stomach churned. And you're one of those people? Victor chuckled. I'm a businessman. I deal in leverage. He pointed at Alex. And right now, your boyfriend here owes me big time. Alex's lips thinned. We'll get you what you need. Just get us on that freighter. Victor studied him for a moment, then nodded. Fine. But I'm not sticking my neck out any further than this. He pointed at Natalie. If she slows you down, leave her behind. Natalie bristled. I'm not going anywhere without answers. Victor smirked. Suit yourself, sweetheart. Just remember, curiosity kills. On the run again. The plan was set into motion within minutes. Victor led them through a back trail, winding through thick jungle growth until they reached an old, beat-up Land Rover parked in a hidden clearing. As they climbed in, Natalie whispered to Alex, Do you really have the drive? Alex gave her a sidelong glance. Yes, but I wasn't lying before. It's somewhere safe. Natalie swallowed hard. And you're planning to hand it over? His jaw clenched. I don't know yet. Liam, sitting in the front seat, overheard and shot a look back. We need to figure that out before we get on that boat. If Victor thinks you're screwing him over, he won't hesitate to turn us in. Natalie leaned back, pressing her hands to her face. I can't believe this is happening. Alex reached over, his fingers brushing her hand. I'll get you out of this. I promise. She looked at him, doubt flickering in her eyes. You keep saying that, but every time, it just gets worse. Before Alex could answer, Victor started the engine, and the Land Rover roared to life, kicking up a cloud of dust as they sped toward the coast. Betrayal unfolds. As they neared the dock, tension thickened in the air. The freighter loomed ahead, its rusted hull illuminated under dim security lights. Victor pulled the vehicle to a stop behind a stack of shipping containers. "All right," he said, turning to Alex. "This is where we part ways. You get on that boat, and I'll forget I ever saw you. But if you cross me—" Alex nodded. "I get it." Victor leaned in close, his voice low. "Don't screw me, Carter. You know what I'm capable of." As Alex and Liam stepped out, Natalie hesitated. She had an uneasy feeling creeping up her spine. Then, before she could voice it, a gunshot rang out. Victor staggered back, a dark bloom of red spreading across his chest. "Run!" Liam shouted, grabbing Natalie's arm and pulling her toward the freighter. Chaos erupted around them. Men emerged from the shadows, guns drawn, shouting orders. Natalie's feet pounded against the metal gangway as they scrambled aboard, bullets ricocheting off the railing. Alex grabbed a pistol from his waistband, firing behind him as they ducked into a dark corner of the deck. "They knew we'd be here," he hissed. Natalie's chest heaved, her mind racing. "Victor, he set us up." Liam's face was pale. "No, it wasn't Victor." Natalie looked at him in confusion. "Then who?" Alex's face darkened. "Claire." Natalie's stomach dropped. Before she could ask what he meant, a voice crackled over the ship's intercom. "Game over, Michael. You're surrounded. Endgame in motion." Natalie's breath hitched as the chilling voice echoed through the ship's intercom system. Claire. The name sent a jolt of fear through her. Alex's wife, the woman he claimed to be protecting, was now the hunter. Alex's face was tense, his eyes scanning the dark deck for an escape. Liam pressed himself against the metal wall, cursing under his breath. "Damn it! I knew she was involved. I told you." Alex ignored him, grabbing Natalie's hand. "We're not staying here. Move." They darted down the narrow corridors of the freighter, the sound of footsteps thudding heavily behind them. Shouts in the distance grew louder. Natalie's mind raced. How did Claire find them? And more importantly, why was she after them in the first place? A spotlight flicked on overhead, sweeping across the deck. Alex yanked her behind a stack of crates just in time. "We don't have much time," he whispered harshly. "There's a lifeboat on the port side. We can use it." Liam frowned. "You're talking about abandoning the ship in the middle of the ocean. Do you even have a plan?" Alex's jaw tightened. "I always have a plan." Before Natalie could ask what the plan really was, a voice rang out from behind them. "Michael, you can't run forever." Natalie turned slowly, her blood running cold. There she was, Claire, dressed in black tactical gear, her blonde hair pulled back into a tight ponytail, and a pistol aimed directly at them. Her eyes were sharp, calculating, void of any warmth. "Claire," Alex said, his voice low, "put the gun down." Claire's lips curled into a smirk. "You always were a dreamer, weren't you? Stealing the drive, running away with her." Her gaze flicked to Natalie, assessing. "Did you think I wouldn't find you?" Natalie swallowed hard. "Why are you doing this?" "He said he was trying to protect you." Claire laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "Protect me? From what? Exactly." She took a step closer. "You have no idea what he's done, do you?" Alex's grip on Natalie's hand tightened. "Claire, it's over. Let us go." Claire tilted her head, the smirk never leaving her face. "Over? No, Michael. It's just getting started." Then, without warning, Claire squeezed the trigger. Alex shoved Natalie aside just in time. The bullet grazed his arm, and he gritted his teeth in pain. Liam fired back, forcing Claire to take cover behind a cargo container. "Run!" Alex shouted, clutching his bleeding arm and pulling Natalie along. The truth revealed. They sprinted through the narrow hallways, Liam covering their retreat. As they reached the lifeboat, Natalie turned to Alex. "Tell me the truth. What's on that drive?" Alex's face was pale, his breath ragged. "It's evidence." He hesitated before continuing. "Evidence that Claire and her company have been laundering money through government contracts. Billions. If it gets out, she's finished." Natalie's heart pounded. "So this was never about you?" Alex gave her a grim smile. I was just the pawn who found out too much. Liam interrupted, gun at the ready. Less talking, more escaping. Get in the damn boat. Natalie hesitated. We can't just leave her. If we turn her in, she won't let us. Alex cut in. Not unless we disappear first. The door behind them burst open, and Claire's men poured onto the deck, firing at them. Alex grabbed Natalie and pushed her into the lifeboat. Liam jumped in after them and hit the release button. The small boat plunged into the dark waves, and Natalie barely had time to brace herself before they hit the water hard. Lost at sea. For a while, they drifted in silence. The only sound the distant hum of the freighter and the lapping of waves against the hull. Natalie sat with her knees pulled to her chest, staring out at the vast, empty ocean. What now? She whispered. Alex exhaled. We head south. I still have contacts in Mexico who can help us get new identities. Liam shook his head. We can't keep running forever. Natalie's voice was quiet but firm. No, we can't. I want this to end. Alex looked at her, his face unreadable. And what are you suggesting? Natalie met his gaze. We go back. We expose Claire. We end this. Liam groaned. You realize we have no leverage, right? She has all the power and we have a tiny boat in the middle of nowhere. Natalie's eyes darkened with determination. We have something she doesn't. What's that? Alex asked warily. Natalie pulled a small USB drive from her soaked pocket and held it up. Alex's eyes widened. Is that? Natalie nodded. I took it from Victor's bag before we left. Liam let out a low whistle. You clever little thief. A flicker of hope sparked in Alex's eyes, but it was quickly replaced by caution. They'll come after us even harder now. Natalie nodded. Then we make it count. Alex's lips curled into a small, tired smile. I knew there was a reason I liked you. Liam groaned. Oh God. Don't start with the flirting. We're still in deep here. Natalie glanced at the endless horizon. Let's finish this. As the sun began to rise over the horizon, bathing the ocean in a soft golden glow, Natalie felt something she hadn't in a long time. Control. For the first time, she wasn't just running. She was fighting back, crossing the line. The sun crept higher, casting an eerie glow over the endless waves. Natalie stared at the USB drive clutched in her trembling hand, the weight of what it contained pressing down on her. The truth, Claire's truth, was right here, but so was the danger it carried. Liam rode silently, his eyes scanning the horizon. We need a plan, he muttered. We can't just float here waiting for Claire's goons to show up. Alex, cradling his wounded arm, nodded. We'll head south to Ensenada. There's a guy I know who can help us transmit this safely. Off the radar. Natalie shook her head. No, Alex. We can't run anymore. We have the evidence now. We need to go back, to the FBI or someone who can actually use it. Alex's expression darkened. The FBI? You think Claire doesn't have people inside law enforcement? That's the first place they'll look. Liam smirked, shaking his head. She's not wrong, though. We need to find someone who isn't on Claire's payroll. Natalie exhaled sharply. I might know someone, she said hesitantly. Both men turned to her. Who? Alex asked. Natalie hesitated before answering. My ex, Jason. He's a journalist, investigative, the real deal. He's got connections. If we can get this to him, he'll blow this thing wide open. Liam snorted. An ex-boyfriend? Great. That won't be complicated. Alex's jaw tightened. Are you sure you can trust him? Natalie met his gaze. I don't have a choice. Alex rubbed his temples, considering it. Fine. But getting to him won't be easy. Claire will have eyes everywhere. Liam leaned forward. We make a decoy. We plant fake trails, misinformation. If we can make her think we're still heading south, we might just have a shot. Natalie nodded. Then let's do it. The setup. By nightfall, they reached the outskirts of a small coastal fishing village. The air smelled of salt and smoke from distant fires burning in the hills. They moored the lifeboat behind a row of abandoned wooden boats, hiding it from view. Alex led them into a dimly lit cantina where the air was thick with cigar smoke and murmured conversations in Spanish. He exchanged a few words with the bartender, slipping him a wad of damp cash. "We need a car," Alex whispered, turning back to Natalie and Liam. "Something that won't draw attention." A few minutes later, a battered old pickup truck rumbled up to the back alley, its tires crunching against the gravel. The driver, a wiry man with dark eyes, handed Alex the keys without a word. Natalie climbed in the back, clutching the USB drive tightly. Liam slid in beside her while Alex took the wheel. "We drive north," he said. "We'll make it look like we're headed to San Diego." Meanwhile, he pointed to the USB. "We upload fragments of the data to random cloud accounts. Confuse them." Natalie nodded, pulling out her phone. As they drove through the winding roads, she uploaded small chunks of the files to encrypted servers, changing locations with each upload. "This should buy us time." Alex's hands tightened on the wheel. "We'll need it." The trap. Hours passed in tense silence as they drove under the cover of darkness. Natalie fought against the exhaustion weighing down on her. The road stretched endlessly ahead, flanked by barren desert landscapes and the occasional flickering motel sign. But something felt off. Liam, staring into the side mirror, suddenly cursed. "We've got company." Natalie's stomach dropped. "How?" "We covered our tracks." Alex's face remained calm, but his knuckles whitened. "Claire's people are smart. She probably had someone watching the docks." A black SUV loomed behind them, closing the distance fast. "Hold on," Alex growled, slamming his foot on the gas. The truck roared forward, tires skidding on the gravel road. The SUV matched their speed, headlights glaring in the mirror. "They're going to ram us," Liam shouted. Natalie gripped the door handle. "Do something." Alex's eyes darted to a narrow dirt road veering off to the left. "Hold tight." Without warning, he yanked the wheel sharply, sending the truck skidding off-road into the rocky terrain. The SUV followed, kicking up clouds of dust. Liam rolled down the window, raising his gun. "Cover me." Natalie ducked as Liam fired, the shots echoing through the desert night. One of the SUV's tires burst with a deafening pop, sending it fishtailing before it regained control. Alex took the opportunity to speed ahead, weaving through the terrain. "We need to lose them in the hills." As they climbed higher into the rocky cliffs, the truck's tires struggled against the loose dirt. The SUV wasn't far behind. Suddenly, the road ended, a sheer drop off a cliff. "End of the line," Liam muttered. Natalie's heart pounded. "We're trapped." Alex scanned their surroundings quickly. "Not yet." He spotted a narrow trail leading down the cliffside on foot. "We ditched the truck. Now." They leapt out of the vehicle, scrambling down the rocky slope. The SUV skidded to a stop above them, and shadowy figures poured out, shouting in Spanish. Natalie's foot slipped, and she tumbled forward, landing hard on the rocky ground. Alex pulled her up, urgency in his voice. "Come on, Natalie." Liam covered them with sporadic gunfire, but it wouldn't hold their pursuers for long. "We have to keep moving," he grunted. They reached the bottom of the trail, only to find themselves standing in front of an old railway track, abandoned but still stretching toward civilization. Alex pointed. "Follow the tracks. We'll get to a town." Natalie barely had time to catch her breath before a bullet ricocheted off the metal rail beside her. "Go!" Alex barked. They ran. The unexpected twist. After what felt like hours of running, they finally reached an old train station, deserted, crumbling, and eerily silent. Natalie collapsed onto a bench, gasping for breath. "We lost them," Liam panted, looking down the tracks. Alex nodded, sweat dripping from his brow. "For now." Natalie fished the USB drive from her pocket, staring at it like it held the power to destroy them all. "We can't keep running forever." Alex leaned against the wall, studying her. "No. We finish it." Liam checked his gun. "So what's the move?" Natalie hesitated, then made a decision. "We go to Jason. He's our best shot at taking Claire down." Alex looked into her eyes. "You really trust him?" Natalie's voice was steady. I have to. Alex nodded. Then let's finish this. Just then, a faint sound echoed through the station. Footsteps. Natalie tensed. Liam raised his gun. And from the shadows, a familiar voice echoed through the silence. Hello, Natalie. Long time no see. Her blood ran cold. Jason. A familiar face. Natalie's heart skipped a beat as Jason stepped into the dim light of the old train station. He looked almost the same, tall, sharp features, with that same piercing gaze that once made her feel safe. But now, standing there in the middle of a high-stakes game she barely understood, he felt like a stranger. Liam kept his gun trained on him. You alone? He asked, voice edged with suspicion. Jason raised his hands in surrender, a tired smile playing on his lips. Relax, cowboy. No backup. Just me. Natalie stepped forward, her voice wary. Jason, how did you find us? He smirked. You think you're the only one who knows how to plant breadcrumbs? He tapped his phone. You uploaded chunks of the data to the cloud. I tracked the signals, your pattern's still the same, Nat. I figured you'd end up somewhere like this. Alex stepped in front of Natalie protectively. We don't have time for a reunion. Did you come to help? Or are you just here to gloat? Jason's expression hardened. I came because I know what you're holding, and because Claire's people aren't far behind. His gaze flickered to Natalie. You really have no idea how deep this goes, do you? Natalie clenched her fists. Then tell me. Jason sighed, glancing around the station before lowering his voice. Claire's company isn't just laundering money. They've been funneling defense contracts through dummy corporations, companies that don't exist. Billions of dollars have vanished into the hands of, well, let's just say people the government doesn't want you to know about. Natalie swallowed hard. Who are they? Jason glanced at Alex and Liam before answering. Private military groups, arms dealers, and foreign interests that are buying up influence in Washington. The drive you have has got bank records, offshore accounts, names. Enough to bring Claire, and half of D.C., crashing down. Liam whistled low. No wonder they're trying so hard to kill us. Natalie's hands shook slightly. So what do we do? Go to the press? The feds? Jason shook his head. Too risky. Claire's got reach everywhere. We need to be smart. That means we leak it. Slowly, in pieces, to people she can't control. And I know just the right contacts. Alex folded his arms. And we're just supposed to trust you? Jason stared him down. No. But I'm your only shot at getting out of this alive. The standoff. Before anyone could respond, the sharp sound of approaching vehicles echoed outside the station. Tires screeching, doors slamming. Natalie's stomach clenched. They found us. Liam peered through a cracked window. 2 SUVs. Armed. We need to move. Jason nodded, pulling out a duffel bag from behind him. I came prepared. He unzipped it, revealing a small arsenal of weapons, pistols, extra ammo, and a sleek black laptop. Natalie stared. You always carried this kind of stuff? Jason grinned. I like to be ready for surprises. Alex grabbed a pistol and checked the ammo. We're not getting out the front. There's an old maintenance tunnel under the tracks. We can use it to get out the back. Jason handed Natalie a phone. Take this. If we get separated, there's a preloaded number in there, my guy. He can help. Liam cocked his gun. Let's go. They slipped through a rusted trapdoor hidden beneath a pile of debris. The air grew thick with dampness as they hurried down the narrow tunnel, the flickering emergency lights casting eerie shadows along the walls. Natalie could hear footsteps above them. Claire's men were inside the station. Keep moving, Alex whispered, guiding her with a firm grip on her arm. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the tunnel, distorted by the speakers but unmistakably Claire's. I know you're down there, Michael, she called, her voice smooth, almost teasing. You're running out of places to hide. Natalie's pulse spiked. She's toying with us. Alex's jaw tightened. She always did like games. Jason smirked. Let's make sure she loses this one. Betrayal unfolds. As they reached the end of the tunnel, a rusted ladder led up to a metal grate. Alex climbed first, pushing it open just enough to check for threats. He waved them up. Natalie climbed out and found herself in an overgrown backyard behind an abandoned building. She barely had time to catch her breath when Liam's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. It's intercepted. They know where we're headed. Jason cursed. We need to split up. You and Alex head to the docks. I'll take Liam and lead them off. Natalie grabbed Jason's arm. I'm not leaving without knowing this will work. Jason softened. Trust me, Nat. I'll see this through. Reluctantly, she nodded. And with a final glance, Jason and Liam disappeared into the night. The final push. Alex and Natalie raced through the city streets, keeping to the shadows. The docks were just ahead. A single boat waiting under the dim light of a flickering lamppost. Almost there, Alex whispered. But just as they reached the pier, a familiar voice sliced through the air. Going somewhere? Natalie froze. Claire stood at the end of the dock, a gun trained on them, her expression cool and composed. You really thought you could outsmart me, Michael? Claire's gaze flicked to Natalie. And you? How disappointing. Natalie swallowed. Why are you doing this, Claire? You already have everything. Claire's eyes darkened. Because power is never enough. Alex edged closer, his hand slowly reaching behind his back. It's over, Claire. Claire smiled coldly. Not even close. A gunshot rang out and Natalie screamed. The breaking point. The gunshot echoed across the darkened docks, splitting the night wide open. Natalie stumbled backward, heart hammering as she saw Alex clutch his side, blood seeping between his fingers. Claire's smirk didn't falter as she took another slow step forward, her gun still aimed at him. Michael, she purred, her voice silk and steel. You never did know when to quit. Alex gritted his teeth, his free hand reaching behind him. Neither did you, he muttered, his eyes locked on Claire's. With a swift motion, he pulled a small flare gun from his waistband and fired it into the air. The blinding red flare shot up, illuminating the docks like a firework. Claire flinched, momentarily blinded by the burst of light, and Natalie seized the moment. She lunged forward, grabbing a rusted fishing gaff from the ground and swinging it wildly. Claire barely dodged it, but the distraction was enough for Alex to dive behind a stack of crates, gasping from the pain. Natalie turned to him, panicked. We need to get you out of here. But Claire's laugh cut through the chaos. And where do you think you're going, sweetheart? She taunted, wiping a bead of sweat from her forehead. This ends tonight. Natalie's grip on the gaff tightened. I'm not afraid of you, she said, though her voice betrayed the trembling in her chest. Claire tilted her head, her eyes filled with amusement. Oh, you should be. Suddenly, from the corner of the docks, headlights blazed to life, followed by the screeching of tires. A black SUV barreled toward them. Liam's voice crackled over Natalie's stolen phone. Get down! Natalie grabbed Alex and pulled him to the ground just as Liam opened fire from the SUV, bullets sparking against the crates and metal railings. Claire ducked behind a nearby piling, cursing under her breath. Come on! Liam shouted, throwing the SUV into reverse and skidding to a stop beside them. Natalie hauled Alex into the back seat, the smell of blood thick in the air. Drive! Alex groaned, and Liam didn't hesitate. The SUV roared away from the docks, fishtailing onto the empty road. Claire emerged from behind the piling, watching them go, her lips curling into a tight smile. Enjoy your head start, darling, she whispered, dialing a number on her phone. The safe house. Half an hour later, they arrived at a rundown gas station off a deserted highway. Liam killed the engine, breathing heavily. That was too close. Natalie helped Alex out of the SUV, pressing a torn cloth against his wound. We need to get you medical help, she said, her eyes darting nervously to the surrounding darkness. Alex winced. Just a patch-up. No hospitals. Liam nodded, pulling out a first aid kit from the glove box. This is gonna hurt, he muttered as he began cleaning the wound. Natalie sat beside Alex, holding his hand. We need to end this, Alex. We can't keep running. Alex looked at her, His blue eyes filled with something that almost resembled regret. I know. Liam pulled out his phone. I checked in with Jason. He's made contact with his guy in the press. We can meet them in LA tomorrow night. But we need a plan to get there without getting caught. Natalie exhaled. Claire's not going to stop, is she? Alex shook his head. Not until she has that drive and we're out of the picture. Natalie took a deep breath and pulled out the USB from her pocket. Then we make sure she doesn't get it. She looked at Liam. Can we leak just enough to keep her scared? Keep her distracted? Liam thought for a moment. Yeah, but we have to be careful. If she knows we're cornered, she'll come for us with everything she's got. Natalie's mind raced. Then we make her come for us. On our terms. Alex looked at her, surprised. You're suggesting we set a trap? Natalie's lips curled into a determined smile. Exactly. The final gambit. The plan was risky, reckless even, but it was their only shot. Jason would arrange for an anonymous drop of partial data to a news agency, forcing Claire to act fast. They would lure her to an abandoned shipping yard in LA, where they would make the final exchange. As they drove through the night toward the city, tension crackled in the air. Natalie could feel Alex watching her, a mixture of admiration and worry in his gaze. You're different than when I first met you, he said quietly. Natalie glanced at him, her eyes hard. I've had to be. Liam cleared his throat from the front seat. I hate to break up the moment, but we've got another problem. He pointed to the side mirror. Headlights. 2 sets. Closing in fast. Natalie's stomach flipped. They found us. Alex gritted his teeth. Hold on. Liam floored the accelerator, the SUV barreling down the highway as their pursuers gave chase. Natalie braced herself as gunfire shattered the rear windshield. We can't outrun them forever, Liam shouted. Alex, ignoring the pain in his side, pulled a gun from the glove compartment. We don't have to. He rolled down the window, took aim, and fired at the lead car's tires. The SUV behind them swerved violently, skidding off the road in a shower of sparks. But the second car remained relentless. Natalie grabbed Liam's arm. Take the next exit. Liam veered sharply onto a side road, heading toward a construction site. If we lose them here, we can double back. The second car followed, tires screeching on the gravel. Brace yourselves, Alex warned. With a final desperate maneuver, Liam slammed the brakes, skidding to a stop behind a row of concrete barriers. The pursuing car didn't react in time and crashed into a pile of debris, smoke and sparks filling the air. Natalie let out a shaky breath. Did we lose them? Alex nodded, his face pale. For now. Liam restarted the SUV. Let's get to LA and finish this. As they sped away, Natalie clutched the USB drive tightly, knowing that everything was leading to this final moment. The truth, the betrayal, the reckoning, and Claire would be waiting. The final move. The city lights of Los Angeles flickered on the horizon as the battered SUV weaved through the dark, empty streets. Natalie sat in the back, gripping the USB drive tightly in her hand, her pulse quickening with every mile they closed in. The plan was simple: lure Claire into the shipping yard with a partial data leak and end this on their terms. But nothing had been simple so far. Alex sat beside her, his shirt stained with blood from his wound, but his eyes were sharp, scanning the streets with military precision. Liam, gripping the wheel, navigated the twisting roads like a man possessed, constantly checking the rearview mirror for signs of pursuit. Are you sure about this? Alex finally asked, his voice rough but steady. Natalie looked at him, her gaze unwavering. It's the only way. We can't keep running. Liam grunted. Yeah, well, Claire's not exactly the let's talk it out type. She'll bring everything she's got. Natalie exhaled. Then we bring more. Liam smirked. You've got a mean streak, Parker. I like it. The tension in the car was thick, each of them feeling the weight of what was coming. Natalie glanced out the window at the endless rows of industrial buildings passing by. Jason will be waiting at the drop point, right? Alex nodded. Yeah. He'll have the press contacts on standby. But we have to get him the full drive first. Natalie hesitated. If we make it that far. Liam turned down a side street, pulling the SUV into the shadow of an abandoned warehouse district near the docks. He killed the engine and turned to face them. All right, here's how this goes down. We split up. I'll create a diversion at the north entrance, while you two head for the drop point. Natalie, you hand over the drive to Jason. Alex. Alex held up a hand, cutting him off. I know. Cover her. Liam nodded. And don't die. Alex smirked. No promises. The setup. The shipping yard was a maze of stacked cargo containers, dimly lit by the flickering yellow floodlights. The distant hum of ships loading and unloading was the only sound as Natalie and Alex moved through the narrow pathways, hearts pounding in their chests. Jason was already waiting near a rusted shipping container, his silhouette barely visible in the shadows. He raised a hand when he saw them, stepping forward cautiously. Took you long enough. Natalie pulled the USB drive from her pocket, holding it out to him. This is it. Everything. Jason took it carefully, looking between her and Alex. Claire's coming. You know that, right? Alex nodded grimly. We're counting on it. Jason sighed. I'll get this uploaded to secure servers. But once this goes live, there's no going back. Natalie's voice was steady. I know. Just then, a sound echoed through the shipping yard, the unmistakable crunch of footsteps on gravel. Alex's head snapped up. Get down, he hissed, pushing Natalie behind a stack of crates. From the shadows, Claire emerged, flanked by two heavily armed men. She was dressed in a sleek black tactical outfit, her eyes cold and calculating as they locked onto them. Michael, she purred, her voice carrying across the open space. Always the romantic. I knew you'd come here. Alex stepped forward, gun at his side. It ends tonight, Claire. Claire's smile was razor-sharp. Oh, I agree, but not the way you think. She snapped her fingers, and more men appeared from behind the cargo containers, their guns aimed at Natalie and Alex. Natalie felt her stomach drop. We're surrounded, she whispered. Alex's eyes darted around, calculating. Liam, you better be in position. A crackle came through Alex's earpiece. Waiting for your signal. Alex took a deep breath. Now. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the shipping yard. A burst of flame erupted from the north side, sending Claire's men scrambling for cover. Alex grabbed Natalie's hand. Run! They sprinted through the maze of containers, bullets whizzing past them. Jason had already vanished into the shadows, USB drive in hand. Claire's voice rang out behind them, furious. Find them. Now. Liam's SUV came skidding around the corner, tires screeching. Get in, he shouted. Natalie and Alex dove into the back seat, Liam flooring the gas as bullets pinged off the metal frame. That was a hell of a distraction. Natalie gasped. Liam grinned. Figured you'd appreciate the fireworks. The last stand. As they sped through the city streets, Natalie could feel the weight of the USB drive no longer in her possession. It was done. Jason had the evidence, and soon, Claire's empire would crumble. But Claire wasn't done yet. She's coming? Alex murmured, watching the dark SUV in the rearview mirror. She's not letting us walk away from this. Natalie's hands clenched into fists. Then we don't let her. Liam took a sharp turn, tires screeching. I've got an idea. Hold on. He raced toward an unfinished overpass under construction. Alex's eyes widened. Liam, what the hell are you doing? Liam grinned wickedly. Ending this. The SUV behind them closed in fast. Claire was gaining ground. At the last second, Liam veered left, sending their car skidding onto a half-finished ramp. Claire's driver, unable to react in time, followed, only to realize too late that the road ended abruptly. The pursuing SUV hurtled off the unfinished edge, flipping in midair before crashing into the concrete below in a fiery explosion. Natalie watched, wide-eyed, breathing heavily. Is it over? Alex exhaled. I think so. Liam grinned. You're welcome. Epilogue 1 Last call. A few days later, Natalie sat alone in a small motel room, staring at the news playing on the television. Breaking news: corporate corruption scandal exposes illegal defense contracts. Jason had done it. Claire's empire was crumbling. Her phone buzzed. She picked it up, heart racing. Alex's voice came through. "You did it, Nat." She smiled faintly. "We did it." There was a pause. "You think they'll stop looking for us?" Natalie's smile faded. "Maybe. But if they don't, I'm ready." Alex's voice softened. "I meant what I said. I'll keep you safe." Natalie closed her eyes. "I know." Hanging up, she stared at the screen. The fight was over. For now. But something told her this wasn't the end. The final reckoning. Bullets zipped past as Natalie, Liam, and a barely conscious Jason scrambled across the motel parking lot. The black SUV screeched to a halt, and armed men poured out, their weapons trained on them. "We're outnumbered," Liam shouted, dragging Jason behind a rusted dumpster. Natalie crouched beside them, her heart hammering in her chest. "We can't outrun them. We need to end this." Alex's voice crackled in her earpiece. "Natalie, hold on. I'm almost there." She gripped the USB tightly, her mind racing. Jason groaned beside her, blood staining his shirt. He grabbed her arm weakly. "Natalie, they took my laptop, but I kept a backup," he rasped, struggling to pull a slip of paper from his pocket. "Coordinates." Natalie's eyes widened. "You backed up the files?" Jason nodded faintly. "Warehouse. Pier 23. Liam glanced around the corner. "We have to move. We won't last long here." Natalie gritted her teeth. "We make a run for it. Alex is on his way." Liam nodded. "On my count." He readied his gun, took a deep breath, and fired 2 shots to cover their escape. "Go, go!" They sprinted toward the motel's back alley, with gunfire ringing out behind them. Just as they rounded the corner, headlights cut through the darkness. Alex's SUV screeched to a halt, door flying open. "Get in!" he shouted. Natalie shoved Jason into the back seat, climbing in after him. Liam dived in last, slamming the door shut. "Drive, drive, drive." Alex didn't hesitate. Tires screeched as they sped away, bullets pinging off the frame. Natalie turned in her seat, breathless. "We need to get to Pier 23. Jason backed up the files. Alex glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "We better hurry. Claire's not done yet." Pier 23, the final showdown. The warehouse at Pier 23 was an eerie, abandoned structure looming over the water. Fog curled along the docks, shrouding the area in an unsettling quiet. Alex parked the SUV behind a stack of shipping containers, and they hurried inside, Jason barely able to stay on his feet. Liam secured the entrance, gun drawn. "We don't have much time. Claire's people will be here any second." Natalie booted up an old terminal connected to the server Jason had stashed here. She plugged in the coordinates he'd given her and watched as the screen lit up with rows of encrypted files. "It's all here," she whispered in awe. "The bank accounts, the shell companies, the offshore transactions." Alex leaned over her shoulder. "Can you send it to the press?" Natalie's fingers flew over the keyboard. "I can send it everywhere." Just as she hit the final command, a chilling voice echoed through the warehouse. "Well, well? You're full of surprises, Natalie." Claire. She stood at the entrance, dressed in tactical black, a gun in her hand, her icy blue eyes locking onto Natalie. Behind her, a handful of armed men spread out, surrounding them. Alex stepped protectively in front of Natalie. "It's over, Claire. The files are already out." Claire's lips twitched into a cold smile. "You think that matters? This isn't just about money, Michael. This is about power. Do you really think some headlines will change anything?" Natalie's voice was firm, unwavering. "It will if they see your face plastered all over the news, Claire." Claire's jaw tightened, and for the first time, Natalie saw the cracks in her composure. She raised the gun. "Give me the drive, and maybe I'll let you walk away." Liam cocked his gun behind Claire. "Not happening." Claire's men tensed, ready for a firefight. Alex's hand hovered near his gun. "You're out of options, Claire," he said. Your empire is collapsing. Claire's eyes flickered with something. Fear? Desperation? Then, with a bitter smile, she took a step back. You haven't won. Not really. Before anyone could react, she spun around and disappeared into the shadows, her men covering her retreat with suppressing fire. Let her go, Alex ordered, grabbing Natalie's arm and pulling her toward the exit. We need to get out of here before the cops show up. Closure. An hour later, they sat in a different motel room, this time far from the city. Natalie watched the news with wide eyes. Breaking news: corporate giant under investigation for fraud, money laundering, and conspiracy. She glanced at Jason, who was lying on the bed, patched up but alive. Liam stood by the window, keeping an eye on the road. Alex sat beside her, quiet, watching the same news report. It's over, Natalie whispered, more to herself than anyone. Alex glanced at her, a slow smile forming. For now. Natalie turned to him, her expression softening. Thank you. For everything. He shrugged. I owed you that much. Liam smirked from across the room. So what now? Witness protection? Running to Mexico? Natalie exhaled. No. No more running. She leaned forward. We take what's left of Claire's network apart piece by piece. Make sure they never rebuild. Alex's smile widened. I like the sound of that. Liam raised his drink. To new beginnings. Natalie clinked glasses with them, feeling a strange sense of peace for the first time in weeks. But deep down, she knew Claire wasn't gone forever. Somewhere out there, in the dark corners of the world, she was still watching, still plotting, and Natalie would be ready. The end? For now. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Thanks.